everyone, my name is Dashi Lacey.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Chamino.
Ani Bajo, Wasazoanangquain Indigenous. My name is Sarah May, and welcome to the Rogers TV special on the City of London's Community Diversity and Inclusion Strategy.
In this episode, we're just going to be talking at a high level about all of the strategies.
And then in the following episodes, we'll go into detail regarding each priority.
First up, we will hear from Samantha Matty. Samantha is one of the co-chairs of the committee that developed the Community Diversity and Inclusion Strategy. This is an area that is of great passion for Samantha, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
City Council 2015-2019 strategy included and recognized that diversity and inclusion were top priorities for London and for the city. The City of London reached out to London in wanting to create this strategy. So it was an open application process, and we had about 200 champions, and those folks were from different perspectives, different identities, and we got together to create this strategy. We met 3 different times. So the first time that we met collectively with all 200 of us, we talked about the vision and the statement of a commitment. The second meeting, we broke it down into different categories. So we spoke about the needs of the City of London with individuals and businesses and organizations. And the third time that we met, we talked about diversity and inclusion and anti-oppression in regards to issues and populations. So we broke out into like different groups, and there was, for example, a group speaking about the needs of anti-Black racism and First Nations and Indigenous communities. We spoke in regards to income inequality and gender, and just all sorts of needs that the community really wanted to talk about. So through that feedback process, we also did engagement sessions with organizations, and we did surveys. So altogether, we actually collected and received feedback that created about almost 230 different strategies. We were able to condense that into 5 different priorities and 47 different strategies underneath those priorities. The strategy is important to London is because every Londoner deserves to feel included, to feel that this is home for them, to feel that they belong. Kind of at this moment of time, and for many years, we're all yearning for the sense of acceptance and belonging. So not only are we talking about diversity and inclusion and diverse perspectives and being at the table, but we're also speaking about power. And so when we're at the table, we need every Londoner to have the power to make change within our community. And that's why this strategy is important. So the Community Diversity and Inclusion Strategy is an aspirational document, and it's an 80-page document. And if you look through it, you begin with the vision, the statement of commitment. There are 5 priorities, and within those 5 priorities, there's 47 different strategies. And also there is feedback, specifically in different populations and issues that were really important to Londoners. So we know that this document is not all-encompassing. We know that there are voices that are left out. And so we know that this is just a work in progress, and that there will never be an end to this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
The board is fine spending $400 on footballs, but not with sending kids on a road trip to improve their mind.
No, we can be something special.
Just remember, your mind can be your weapon.
When your wives suggested couples therapy, do you think this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
I'm Jeff, and anybody who knows me knows I love chilling in my backyard. The only thing I like better than chilling in my backyard is grilling in my backyard. So I decided to visit Londoners and see what they're doing in their backyard. Chilling and grilling with Jeff, Thursdays at 7.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we'll hear from all 5 of the working group chairs. First up is Brian Hill. Hello,
my name is Brian Hill. I'm from the Oneida First Nation, just outside of London. I'm also a member of the Diamond Friendship Center here where we are today. I am the chair of Priority 1 for the Community and Diversity Inclusion Strategy, which is taking concrete steps towards healing and reconciliation. Priority 1 is based on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the 94 recommendations that came out of that surrounding the residential school system that was employed by Canada and the United States from the mid-1800s until the late I believe the last school closed in the 1970s. The idea was to take the children from their homes, from their homelands, from their communities, place them in a church-run, government-backed school in order to teach them how to be citizens of Canada, citizens of the United States, by taking away their language, taking away their ceremonies, taking away their traditional way of living, the way they've lived, that Indigenous people have lived for thousands of years. And a few years ago, the City of London began an initiative, the Community and Diversity Inclusion Strategy. I participated from the beginning, as I'm still participating now, with the hope that some change can happen. With the city looking at putting in place some of those recommendations that were put out by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The way I'm looking at the work that I'm doing with Priority 1 and CDIS is an opportunity to share, to showcase, to highlight who we are as a people. Even though we've gone through so many different forms of trauma, both physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it's time for growth. It's time for healing, not just for us, but for everybody. If everybody was to just take a piece of that and just to look at it and understand it and see how it is from our view. Listen to the people that are telling you stories. Listen to our stories. And again, it's not to take anything away from you, but it's to add to your understanding, add to everything about your life. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to take it on, but just listen. Listen, learn, and hopefully, you'll get just as much out of it as those of us who are working on the projects themselves. Thank you. Yonko.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Next, we'll hear from Romina Morris.
My name is Romina Morris, and I'm chair of Priority Number 2, which is to have zero tolerance for oppression, discrimination, and ignorance. The reason that this is a really important conversation to have right now is because Londoners have been describing many events recently about having experiences of oppression and discrimination. In fact, they've been talking about it for some time. And this matters right now because we have a lot of people who are feeling the impact of that oppression, particularly since COVID-19. So the reason that this is important is because we're focusing on a number of different initiatives that allow us to move awareness and education around this issue. There are people who are not understanding why this is occurring. And so we have an opportunity here to work with the community and with the city to start to advance some of those things on a bigger year level. So some of the priorities that we've been working on specifically have included connecting with different people and systems in London, including the London Police, the London Public Library. We've got people from the education system as well. So we're trying to get as many people as we can to start talking about how this is impacting people. We're talking to people about sharing their stories and being able to bring that awareness to Londoners.
Thanks, Ramina. Next up, we'll hear from Shobita Sharma.
Hi, my name is Shobita Sharma. I am the chair for Priority 3, Connect and Engage Londoners. At the very beginning of the CDIS process, it was very clear that the community felt that there was exclusion and isolation in the community. Now, as the face of our community changes and becomes even more diverse, the need to connect diverse groups is even more and more apparent every day. Priority 3 aims to build and celebrate these connections so that everyone who lives in the city, everyone who calls our city home, has that sense of belonging here. We're very lucky to have a very dedicated group of volunteers on Priority 3. Not only are they excited at every single meeting, they're extremely committed to the success of CDIS, and they're passionate about making a positive impact on our community. So why did I choose to be a part of CDIS? Well, being an immigrant myself, I wanted to contribute to something that was going to make London a more welcoming, a more inclusive city for all. To me, the key is in collaboration. When we have so many different groups doing so many different things in our community, it's important that we break down the silos, celebrate success, celebrate one another, and stay connected.
Thanks a lot, Shobita. Next up, we have Ashfaq Hussain.
Hello, Londoners. My name is Ashfaq Hussain, and I am the chair of Priority 4 for the CDIS working group. Priority 4 is removing barriers faced by persons with disabilities when accessing services, information, and the built environment. Many of you may know that in London, there are over 50,000 people that are identified as being persons with disabilities. This represents the largest community of such kind here in the City of London. Together, we work to identify and remove barriers that are faced by this group of individuals every single day in London. And so our priority examines and wants to eliminate such barriers, especially those faced when persons with disabilities access services, information, and spaces here in London. We have identified approximately 10 strategies that will, once enacted upon, will enable us to have London as a more inclusive city for all to live in. Our priority wants to work with all Londoners with disabilities in identifying the issues that they have. We encourage you to come and join our working group and share your experiences, your knowledge, and the challenges you have faced. Because without you, we will not be able to work to find solutions to the challenges and such that you face. So don't hesitate to come out and talk to us and share all the information you have with us.
And finally, we have Herman Gutierrez.
Hello, my name is Herman Gutierrez. I am the chair of Priority 5. We have called Priority 5 Removing Barriers to Employment here in the City of London. And why did we consider the removal of barriers to employment something important and as a priority during our community consultations? Well, because if we want a vibrant city, and if we want a city where everybody has a chance to be included and engaged, we need to make sure that all the factors that call to retention of our inhabitants and of their quality of life are taken into account. And that's why employment becomes the amongst the many other priorities, because it's the key factor for engagement in the city and for retention of the people who are living here. At the heart of everything is also one key factor, is that employment opportunities right now in the city, and of course even compounded now that we have the COVID-19 epidemic and all the things that are happening around the pandemic with the loss of jobs, is a key marker of one aspect, and that is discrimination. So the reason why a person might not find a job can be found in many different aspects. The pronunciation of the person, the gender of the person, the color of the person, the origins of the person, the nationality, etc. And although we say that those barriers do not exist, they do. And so that is part of our struggle. And then the other struggle, of course, is that of the acceptance of credentials. But I want to leave everybody with one key thought. And why is this priority 5 such a great priority to work with, and why we should be so engaged with it? And that is the fact that a nation is only as strong as its weakest citizens. We need to be able to provide that makes the weakest stronger. And if there's one key answer to that, that is employment. Thank you.
You know the story. When the RCAF said Mach 2 fighter, 2-place 1,000-mile range, the British said it was impossible. The Yanks tried twice and failed. They said, you're dreaming. We said, fine, we'll build it right here in Toronto. And now you guys, my guys, are saying that it can't be done, that they were right?
Now that's the rocket that we used to get the model up to speed, and then the onboard sensor tells me.
Damn it!
But we did it according to your specs. The specs have changed.
We did it.
Arrow 201. You're cleared for takeoff.
Although the government cancelled the project and destroyed the prototypes, the Avro Arrow remains for Canada a world benchmark in aerospace achievement.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university. So they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted just about everyone. But I worry about and take care of my guys. So even when I know they're not driving, sometimes that means bringing them a little surprise. And then they had a drink to me.
Brought to you by Smart Serve Ontario and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
Welcome back. We're here in Victoria Park, where we'll be asking Londoners about their thoughts on community diversity and inclusion. The first question I'm going to ask is, what does an inclusive community look like to you?
I don't know, just like an open environment where people don't get judged. To me, an inclusive community is where everyone feels welcome. It's where everyone feels like, you know, they have the opportunities to reach their goals in life, I feel like.
It's a community that is free from all forms of discrimination. It's a community that celebrates people's differences. And it's a community that's not afraid to have some serious discussions about persistent issues of barriers to certain communities.
I would say an inclusive community would be nobody feeling left out, nobody feeling like they don't belong.
An inclusive community looks like everyone can come out and be a part of events and be a part of change without feeling like their voice is not being heard. That's very simple, but a lot of work to get that done, you know.
I'm also going to ask, how do you think the City of London is doing in terms of community diversity and inclusion?
Better than most cities. I've traveled all over the world, so I've seen it. And yeah, on the most part, I'd say it's a pretty quiet city.
I feel like the city is probably trying really hard. I don't know like what the steps are, but I feel like from the community, people are feeling really good. First impressions are positive. I guess one thing that I noticed is that there's all different kinds of like food, and like, you know, it's not difficult to find kind of foods from like kind of different ethnicities and stuff like that. So I guess that's from like a standpoint of like, you know, small businesses and whatnot, people finding those opportunities. Yeah.
I see
people from all over the world, and it's a melting point here, and I really like it. People are very friendly from, all over the world. I see, from different religions, from different castes.
There are lots of shortcomings in this city, generally speaking. So if we take a look at some of the power structures in the community, they're not truly reflective of what we have in the community. I know full well lots of friends who have not been able to succeed in the city. Part of it has been because of certain barriers that they have encountered. And so I think there's lots of work to be done. I think we've made some strides lately, but there's tremendous amount of work to be done.
The City of London has pockets where diversity and inclusion is very well attained and is a foundation of the work being done. For example, like the arts is an amazing place to go if you're a person of color, Black, Indigenous. If you're part of that community, it's amazing. But I find in other places it can be a bit challenging.
And lastly, in regards to diversity and inclusion, we're going to be asking what people would like to see the city doing more of.
I don't know. I think it's already doing a pretty good job. Well, that's coming from my own perspective as someone who's from London and not, immigrant. So I don't really know if I feel like the small little things that other people might feel.
More bike paths, because it makes it a lot easier for people like myself and cyclists, at least get them off the sidewalk so they're not hitting people.
I'd just like to see more money put to the more marginalized communities. It shouldn't be anecdotal stories of people coming out and saying, I have been hurt by the system that enact change. It should be the people in power actually reflecting on the policies that they're putting in place that have been in place for forever, on the change that they're able to do while they're either sitting in council or on boards, and actually bringing people into the mix that don't look like them or don't have the same life story as them. Someone who's not a Western alum or Fanshawe alum, like someone who didn't go to school. Like, we need people representing the marginalized communities that exist here. And the fact that there's so little money going to housing here in London, where that's continuously an issue. There's so little money going to even like the schools, and it's anytime someone brings up an issue, it's the provincial government, so we can't really do that change here. How about we do the change here and do that hard work so that we can set an example for other cities, other towns in Ontario, and you don't have to go running back to either the provincial or the federal government,
Just wondering, along with this flora and fauna, if the City of London could also give us some musical thing here, emanating from the phones or something on the billards, so that, especially in these challenging times of COVID-19, we will be a little more, feeling serene and, will give us some tranquility.
I think City Council needs to continue to promote the governance of the city to the rest of the community. It's a really small voter base for the council.
London is an incredible city, but the best thing about it are the people who give back. And you can meet those incredible people making a difference right here in our community on Giving Back.
Thank you to every one of our Rogers TV volunteers, whether in front of the camera or behind the scenes. Your support means the world to us.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations, until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we'll hear from Councillor Kayabaga about the importance of this work for the City of London.
So I think that the community and diversity and inclusion strategy is really important for our community. It is important that as we work towards an equity and inclusive community, we involve everyone. We involve everybody who can contribute, who can educate and bring awareness to the different communities that live across the City of London. The work that they do here at the City of London has been very helpful to guide and to help implement policies that are inclusive and that are reflective of the community that we live in. Myself and Council have supported and moved motions that support community and diversity and inclusion. Just over a month ago, I moved a motion that would see an equity lens on our budgeting and every single service area that we have here at the City of London. So basically, this motion is going to help us bring in a diverse and equity lens on the work that we do, and to make sure that the community that we're serving is being included, and we're making sure that all voices are heard and no one's left behind. The City of London has also continued to keep track and the measures and metrics on our diversity and inclusion strategy. And we recently approved positions where we would have Indigenous and Black liaison officers work with the City of London to make sure that the Black and Indigenous communities that have been left behind are also included into the plans and the strategies that we have here at the City of London. So overall, I would say that having the community diversity and inclusion strategy has really helped our city move forward, and there's a lot more work left to do, but I believe that we're moving in the right direction if we continue the momentum and we continue to support the right people and to hear and listen to the voices of our communities.
Thanks for watching this episode. Just want to give you a heads up about the next episode will be on Priority 1, which is taking concrete steps towards healing and reconciliation. You will hear from Brian Hill, who is the chair of the working group, and community members who will speak to the importance of this work and the action steps that the group is working towards.
When it comes to diversity and inclusion in our city, it's important for us all to be more educated about who lives here and who uses the city in different ways. As well, in order for us to know how to go forward, we need to know where we're coming from. So my call to action is to encourage everyone to learn about the land upon which we are currently situated, the historical and contemporary relationships of each of the First Nations that live here today and have lived here in the past, as well as the treaties that exist that the City of London was able to be built on this land due to that treaty. So that's my call to action, is to learn about the treaties, learn about the peoples that call London home.
If you're interested in getting involved in the community and diversity and inclusion strategy, head over to london.ca/CDIS to fill out a volunteer application.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.